Hey everyone, welcome to Pass or Play. So today we have Vampire Academy Season 1, Episode 10, titled Ascension, Season Finale, streaming on Peacock. So we open with the Strigoi. They're attacking everybody everywhere. It's chaos everywhere. People are running all over the place, trying to get somewhere safe, trying not to get killed or, feed upon by the Strigoi. The Guardians' main defense is to just basically protect the royal family, the royal vampires, all non-royal Moroi vampires, all Dampier non-Guardians are basically left to fend for themselves. The Guardians are throughout the Dominion, fighting clusters of Strigoi here and there, but primarily the main focus is to protect the royal family, the royal Moroi, and they seclude the Queen Alyssa in a certain area in the Dominion, and then the other ones they put on these buses and have them go, basically having them drive to a different province. They're not letting any of the other non-royal vampire Moroi, on these buses. It's like royal family first. Um, and the monks can't reseal the wards because the stake to do so is missing because Tatiana took it, when she killed the monk and stabbed the one of the head guardians. Christian goes back to the archives to see if there's something that he can do to maybe help, reseal the wards. And he ends up coming across the head of the church, who ends up killing one of the Strigoi when he gets basically down in the archives, and she makes him a monk and says he needs to collect like a sample of blood from each from vampires that has each one of the elements, air, water, fire, and earth. And that he also realizes too that Vladimir used his spirit magic to imbue the stake as well. So he knows he also is going to need Lissa to do that, to once he gets the different blood samples of each element on the stake, he needs to have her imbue it with some of her spirit magic, most likely in order for the stake to work. Again, the head of the church, she makes him a monk in order to do so. And she also lets him know that his father was sick, and he came, I guess, to the church, for advice, but there was nothing that they could do as far as heal him from his sickness, which may be why they just turned to being a Strigoi. It wasn't because they didn't love Christian. They just never told him that his father was sick. And I guess they felt that being a Strigoi was their only option, so that's what they did. Even though the mother didn't have to, I guess the father could have just did it, but she decided to be with her husband over her son. And so from there we get flashbacks of Tatiana setting up the limousine accident and then having Andre Dragomir saved. And they also show her threatening Lissa's life if he didn't help her and give her counsel and becoming queen. So throughout the 9 episodes, all the things that she was doing, finding laws, coming up with all these kind of counteractions to what, Victor was doing, what the queen was doing, was counsel from Andre the whole time because she had him captive that whole time. And then we go to Dimitri gets released. Rose and Mason, they return in the morning, um, and they come up with a plan to protect all the other Moroi vampires in Dampier. They find out that, you know, the royal vampires who got away on the different buses, they're not going to send the buses back to get, other non-royal vampires so they can drive them back to the province. They're just going to keep the buses there, because I guess they want to stay protected in the buses from the sun. And I guess they can't walk 30 feet or something to a more, shady, an area with shade where they're not in the sun. Even though it won't kill them, I guess it does make them weak or something. Um, and then from there, we find out that the queen is poisoned through a royal feeder that someone poisons, and she ends up dying. Even though Lissa at first is trying to prolonging her life through the spirit magic, but once the area that they have Lissa and the queen secluded in is finally attacked, once they get through the remaining guardians that are protecting them, Lissa puts on the red cloak of the feeders to kind of to get around the Dominion, even though she has on this like huge, fancy dress and the crown on her head, so she's not exactly not standing out. But either way, she escapes. But also to Queen Warina, who ends up getting poisoned and dies. She also lets Lissa know that her and Christian are married because the third marriage ritual was an exchange of gifts, which um, Lissa and Christian did do, but didn't realize it at the time. So they actually are officially married because they did all three rituals. The monk ceremony, letting having a public letting the public know of their being betrothed, and then the exchange of gifts. So they did all three rituals. So they actually are officially married. Um, and then Andre escapes from Tatiana, and he does get reunited with Lissa for like 5 minutes. And then Christian Mother comes from behind him, bites him, and feeds him her blood. And she ends up running off with him. And so basically, Christian is, going to most likely become Strigoi. And at first, Lissa thought that she was imagining him because in previous episodes, so she kept just imagining him, kind of through her spirit magic. But when Mia's like, I can't believe it, then Lissa realized, Andre is actually really alive. But it was like less than 5 minutes that they had that kind of, uniting, and he just ends up getting, killed, officially now. And that was probably the saddest thing of it, of this episode. And he did tell her that he was proud of her because, through Tatiana, he was kind of informed of what was happening as things progressed. But yeah, that was really sad. And then you have Silver. She leaves with Jesse's Echoes, who, in the midst of the chaos, he still has his car that he can drive out of the Dominion while the Stegor is still attacking. And they run into Dane, Jesse's father, who tells, Silver to get out because she's human. She's not a royal Moroi. She's not any kind of a Moroi. He doesn't get, Jesse's, I guess, infatuation with her. But he tells Silver to get out of the car. He won't get in unless she gets out. He doesn't realize that a Strigoi is behind him, and Jesse locks the door and says, there's no room for you. And basically, Dane ends up getting most likely killed by a Strigoi. They just show him getting feed on, but they pick and choose who they want to turn, who they don't want to turn. So it's possible that Dane could come back if there's a season 2. But either way, since he's been a bully and kind of an a-hole throughout the whole season, I didn't really feel it. I felt bad for Andre. I didn't feel bad for Dane. It's like, you're an a-hole, so you know. Um, then we go back to Christian. He gets all, he pierces the skin of different vampires who can yield each element, and then he gives it to Lissa to imbue it with her spirit magic. She does, and he ends up resealing the wards and stopping the Strigoi from coming in. Um, and then they end up killing the rest of the Strigoi on the inside of the Dominion. Um, Tatiana, she gets the vote of the remaining royal council to be queen, and she declares Lissa's wanted for questioning in the assassination of Queen Rowena. Dimitri decides to stay in the Dominion. Rose gets the number of her father to use in case she may need something in the human world from her mother. Lissa and Rose, they leave the Dominion for the human world because, again, Lissa can't stay there now because, she's wanted in suspicion of the assassination of the queen, which she didn't do. Someone else did, most likely Tatiana. Mason ends up getting hurt in fighting the Strigoi and ends up needing surgery. But again, Rose has to leave, and there's nothing she can do. Christian's aunt is killed in the fighting, and now he's the head of his family. He decides to stay in the Dominion. He lets Lissa know that he was also made a monk, or made a monk to use the stake. Lissa lets Christian know that according to the queen, Rowena, that they are married and they kiss. He says he loves her, and they basically say their goodbyes. And the episode ends with Andre waking up with his eyes red, and he's now Strigoi. And so overall, to me, the season, to me, the season has been good. Again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how on the nose, this adaptation as far as the series is compared to the books. I know there's quite a few books. I don't know, is this just like the first book that they've expanded into the series, or did they add multiple storylines from the books or not? But so far, from based on just just on what's happening in the show, I've liked this season so far. I do hope that they do a second season because I want to see what happens, as Lissa and Rose go out in the human world. What's that like? They did show a little bit of that in the movie that came out a few years ago, but again, I think it'll be interesting to see it in the TV show because they have 10 episodes. If they do 10 episodes again, if there even is a season 2. I did like the relationship of Dimitri and Rose. I did like the relationship of Christian and Lissa. I also like the relationship between Rose and Mason as well, kind of like a triangle with Dimitri. But other than that, yeah, to me the show has been overall good for the most part. I haven't read the book, so I have nothing to compare it to other than the movie, which I thought was okay for what it was. But and they also do talk about, they call them the alchemists, which is basically a group of humans who know about the Dampier and the Moroi, and basically they are the ones who supply the feeders to the different provinces and dominions for the Morois to feed on. But Dimitri tells this to Rose, and he says, but the alchemists, they hate the Moroi and the Dampier. So they do mention them, and I think that's probably who we saw earlier, a couple episodes back, when they went to find that the specialist who knew about the history, the real history of Vladimir and all that. That's who I think those humans were they were the alchemists. So we'll probably maybe learn more about them in season 2 if there is a season 2. I don't know how well the show did with viewers and different things like that. So, but again, I would say I wouldn't mind a season 2. I overall enjoyed this season. You know, Nitpicks here and there. I wish they did go into a little bit more of the history. It would have been cool maybe if they had even shown, maybe what some of the original, you know, the original starting members look like, the original 13 warriors that makes up the royal families as their descendants. That would have, so just more of that would have been cool. Just more, maybe a history episode where they kind of go back and you actually see what how it was from the beginning or something like that. That would have maybe been cool, but maybe they'll do that in season 2 if there is a season 2. But anyway, let me know what you think. Did you like the show overall? Did you like the season overall? Did you like this review? Any complaints? If you did read the book, if you did read the book or you didn't read the book, how do you think this season compares to, as far as the adaptation from the books and all that? So you can comment below, hit the like button if you like the review. And I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So subscribe, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And I will see you next time. Bye.